Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Centurion Leadership Battalion podcast, your source of accountability, inspiration, and motivation to become your best and reach your fullest potential every day. Our motto, it's simple: to use our determination to crush our everyday leadership tasks so that we dominate in our delivery of services and products to our clients and achieve victory and personal growth, profitability, and creating environments for those around us to prosper. Let's get this show started.
Welcome back to the Centurion Leadership Battalion podcast. This is your host, Elena. Very excited for today's episode. I have Justin with us as usual, and we also have a special guest. We have Mark Riggs joining us of FitTrax. We're super excited to speak with him today and present another Q&A episode for our listeners. So thank you for listening in. Please don't forget to leave a rating or review or to download some more episodes. We greatly appreciate all of your support. So hi, Justin and Mark. Thanks for being here today.
Hello. Thank you.
How are you guys? Thank you, Elena, for introducing us, and welcome, Mark. Mark and I are in the Arete Syndicate together and learning together, and we're both in the food business. So we discuss a lot of things and share a lot of information back and forth. So I thought, what better way to do the leadership podcast than to sort of bring forth someone who lives food every day, who's building a food company in today's world in the modern way with health and fitness in mind, and actually doing it the way it should be done and taking the proper steps. So he's also going to be on Justin the Food Entrepreneurs with Skylar that we're going to be recording this weekend. But I really wanted to take time to talk about the leadership and what Mark's doing and the steps forward and sort of his path in becoming a leader in the industry, because I guarantee you someday we'll look back on this episode and we'll see that Mark really worked hard and put in the time to achieve the food empire that he's going to have in the future. So thanks, Mark, for joining us.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for the kind words. And you've been a huge help and support system for me as well, Justin. So I want to say, first and foremost, thank you for the late night conversations, the early morning conversations, doing what we do, and just helping navigate through everything. So you've been a huge help and a friend and a mentor as well. So thank you. But yeah.
And I think, and if I didn't say it or Elena didn't say it, the company is FitTrax that Mark is owner of and founder of. And it's a pretty impressive what he's done and in the space he's doing it in and how he's grown his company. So I do want to make sure, and we give time to you, Mark, to tell everyone on that. But I also want to talk about before that, and I'll let Elena go through that again, but just the importance of being in food and what we went through in COVID. Food's it's not glorious. There are some chefs here and there, and maybe some of us entrepreneurs that maybe get some fame here and there, but a majority of us are just grunt workers trying to get food to feed people every day and trying to make and have fun doing it and create a niche doing it. It's hard work, and it's unglorified, and it's and most of the time unrecognized or especially unappreciated. And so when COVID happens or stressful times happen and you're already underappreciated and you are the guys having to go the extra mile just to make sure people get fed, having them someone that you mentor, meaning I'm talking about mentor in that two people are both going along with each other, as we discussed in Developing Young Leadership podcast with Skylar and Callie a couple weeks ago. And that's that we are learning from each other. It's not one of us coaching one another. We're equally learning from one another, because Mark asked me questions and I don't know, or I have to go learn it myself. Even within my own company, it's forcing me to do that. And I certainly don't know anything. And his endeavors and the way he's thinking as an entrepreneur are different than mine. And he opens up my eyes also. So I think that it goes back to what we all know, at least the three of us on this podcast, which is always be learning, no matter what. And so thank you, Mark. So I just want to emphasize that. The floor is yours, Elena. Sorry, I talked a bunch there as I usually do.
No, awesome introduction. I'm really excited to dive into our talk today. And I'm going to go ahead and present the question, and I'll let whoever wants to answer first get started. It's, why is leadership in food essential for healthy food in our homes?
Oh man, I guess I'll jump in here, but I think it's important that as an industry we see that, you know, the nutrition, and I think especially in the last 2 years with the pandemic that's been hitting us, is people have become more aware of, you know, what they're putting into their bodies, and, you know, just being more self-conscious of it. You know, I see a lot more people kind of reading the labels, reading the back of the labels, like in the grocery stores and just through talking with people. So I think it's important that, you know, you start to see some people kind of stepping up and, you know, taking the reins of, you know, the importance of that, and showing that we really care. And that's kind of what we're doing with FitTrax is, you know, it's a different concept in the sense of, you know, it's, you know, we're taking the extra steps to put a nutritional label, put the information out there. Hey, this is the ingredients we use, you know, everything's, it's fresh produce, sustainable seafood, grass-fed beef, you know, putting a quality product in there where, you know, a lot of companies are not doing that. And so I think that's people are seeing the value in that, and that alone is showing that we're setting ourselves apart from others, and, you know, being the leader, stepping out, taking the risks, and you know, putting a better sustainable product out there that people are going to enjoy and reap the benefits of that. And so being something that you can really stand behind is in one way being a leader in the industry, I feel. So
I love that, Mark. And I want to point out something to the audience as well, because we think in such microeconomic terms. Often we don't think macroeconomically, excuse me. And so I'm going to take Mark's example that he just gave, just as a leadership in food, and take it to a macro level and use his micro example. Mark's in the business for health food. A lot of his clients are athletes and things like that, you know, similar to what we talk about in Primal Rock. If anyone listens to those episodes or sees the stuff that Elena does on scabandology, Mark Riggs' company is that he's going after the healthy food. But on a micro level, he's talking about grass-fed beef. We've talked about this before, and organic vegetables or natural vegetables, and what does that look like in natural foods and in more pure. Okay, so yes, he's one of many doing this, but why is important? You know, why is just bizarre? Like, oh, one, why do I want Mark to be around? Why is it important for me to be mentors? Because one, we're building an industry together. Okay, that's important. That we're building a healthier food business together. So yes, are we running around in the same arena? Sure. Could we eventually swap clients or customers here and there? Potentially. But what's more important than that? That we build a big enough industry where there's enough people in it where it doesn't matter if we swap here and there. And it matters that if we want competition, because competition attracts more people to the industry. That's important. And we want competition, not because we're going to look at them, but because it always attracts more people to the industry. One. Two, we want, at least in the United States, to create healthier animals and healthier farming. So that's one of the things that's important. And why is that important? Because no different than why you may choose Domino's over Papa John's, or Papa John's over Little Caesars or Pizza Hut, whatever your preference is. People are going to choose the best cookie shop or the best pizza shop based on the best pizza or best morals and ethics of the pizza shop or whatever. So if we're in the United States and we're competing with beef markets, and we're competing with pork markets, and we're competing with chicken markets, we should be the best in something within that, not just be, oh, we're the best producer of commercial beef. Great, we can feed everyone. How are we differentiating ourselves? What makes us different on a macroeconomic scale competitively as farmers, as food, on a world scale? And so what does that look like? We have to come up with a standard, and no one else is going to do it unless we drive it as entrepreneurs and leaders. So why Mark and I spend a lot of time together, or why we talk a lot, is because, and why we share a lot, because we share the same vision. And it makes us very easy to be competitors, friends, grow an industry, do whatever, share secrets, talk whatever. We're not discussing pricing. We're not locking down the market, his pricing. We're not colluding. We're just coming together in a way to build an industry, no different than groups do it all the time. We're just friends, members of Arete, and trying to build an industry together, and some would say maybe even competitors, but I don't think so. Mark's model and what he's going to do is true to Mark, and what we do is going to be true to us, and we're both going to drive people to an industry that benefits all of us. So that's my opinion. I would say it's pretty valid based on what I've seen and the way markets are built, but that's why I think food's important. Healthy food in homes is, if we're just talking about it on economics, from an economic level, we as the United States should be the best at healthy food. There's no reason we shouldn't. Just my opinion. And we should be the leaders in it. We should go be the best food producer in the world, not because we can do it most efficiently, but because we can do it the most efficiently with the highest quality and regenerate the planet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. And I think going back to the, the topic of people looking at the ethics of the company that they're researching or they're buying from, and that's, people are willing to buy, it's like, a quality product more than I think they ever have been, because that's the importance of, one, supporting, whether you're supporting small businesses, big businesses, it's, what are the values of that company? What do they stand for? What are they, what's their vision? Is that something that they want to be a part of? And that's, where we as the leaders, as the entrepreneurs, driving that bus, or train, for the matter of fact, that is, making sure that what we do, we're always going to do the right thing. We always stand by our word. We, if we're going to use a quality product, it may not be the cheapest product, but it's going to be the best product, that we can. And so make sure that those standards are set higher than others. And that's going to make us the captain of the ship that we're trying to navigate, So I think that's important to keep those standards high, and to just always do it, and just don't let that drop, because if you're going to let one thing drop here and there, then that's not, others are going to see that, and you're not going to be setting the standard. And so make sure you do what you say you're going to do, so.
I love that. I think that's so interesting, and hearing both of you share just your similar viewpoints of the industry and what you guys get to do, and just especially at a time like this when it's so needed. And I'd love to just backtrack a little bit, Mark, and give you an opportunity to share more about FitTrax that we both mentioned, Justin and myself, and just to share when you began in the industry and what prompted you to, create your own brand, your own business. We'd love to let our listeners hear a little of your story.
Yeah, absolutely. No, thank you. Yeah, I know we did a little bit of talking before, but I've been in the industry for 20 years. I started washing dishes back when I was in high school, or actually prior to that, kind of just picking up summer jobs here and there. That's, we were raised blue collar family that, we worked. I got 3 brothers, both parents, happily married and everything. And so, one of the things that when we were being raised was, we work hard and kind of do chores around the house. We didn't really get an allowance. It's, if we wanted to go save up and buy something for ourselves, we had to earn that money. And so whether it was getting paper routes when we were younger or whatever, so we were always raised that way, and in my mind properly. And from just parents setting the example and everything. So when I was starting off, I started washing dishes, and kind of after doing that through high school, it's kind of one of those things, one of the cooks called out, no call, no showed, as we called in the industry. And they came to me and said, "Hey, you want to start helping with, a garde manger, cold side of the food, like service, making salads and, small things like that, and helping out those guys. And so I was like, sure. So I did that, and kind of getting in there, touching the food, tasting the food, working more with it, as opposed to just washing all the dishes. And so I really saw that kind of that light, the joy of doing that, and kind of just tasting everything, things that I've never tasted before, and like getting the palate down. And so after doing that for a little bit, couple weeks, the chef came to me and said, hey, if you keep working hard, doing what you're doing, and you show up, you put the effort in there, and help out where it's needed, and just work hard, I will teach you everything I know. And so I kind of took that to heart, and that's what I did. And so I kind of set off on a mission saying, hey, if this is what I'm going to do, then I want to make sure that I'm putting my best work forward, showing up, being on time, communicating, leading by example as much as I can, and just helping out where it's needed. And that, one of the main points that I wanted was, I'm going to work for the best chefs, and like do my research on the chef that I want to go work with, and is that the right person? And so over the course of the last 20 so years, that's what I've been doing. And so everything from flipping burgers when I was in high school, sort of thing, to working Michelin star restaurants out in Chicago for a little bit, and did some traveling around South America, and just kind of immersing myself into some different cultures, and then kind of really honing down my skills, and jumping around from everything from being a sous chef to executive chef, and then back to sous chef. So kind of bouncing around, just because I wanted to get a little bit of taste. I want to taste a bunch of things, from just cuisines to restaurant styles to working with different chefs. That was important to me. And those kind of gave me the skills needed to be successful where I'm at. And then kind of fast forwarding to about 4 or 5 years ago, I started my own catering company, and, we still have it, but due to COVID, we haven't really done much on the catering side. We've done some events here and there, but a little over about 3 years ago is where FitTrax kind of began to start to sprout. Working out, I love the CrossFit community, the CrossFit like culture. And so I was in a CrossFit gyms, and, I worked full time, and then I went and I trained and I worked out with the CrossFit gyms, and, they always saw me eating my own food, and kind of, bringing it in there, and making sure that I was fueling myself per se, and just keeping the food going. And people were like, hey, would you mind cooking for me? Because, whether they're just like regular people working out, or some of them were competitors, CrossFit competitors, like, man, we would love to, we don't have time to do this. Like, would you mind? And I was like, sure, and so, they helped pay for ingredients type thing. And I had no clue of like a meal prep industry type thing. I'm just like, hey, I'm just cooking my food, type thing. And so putting it in Tupperware, and then doing that over a couple months there, people kind of started, one turned into two turned into three turned into six. And then so it just slowly grew. And, people were like, hey, this is like an actual business, like an actual industry that people are doing this. And, with my knowledge of, fine dining restaurants and whatnot, I was like, what? Like, not really believing it, that people like prepackaged food, other than what you see in grocery stores, but like for people to purchase and consume and have it like shipped and delivered to them, and this concept. And so I started digging into it more, researching it more, and just one thing led to another. I just started getting out there, kind of started working with more in the gym community, because that's what I knew, and that's what I could really relate to, walking into a CrossFit gym, and having that initial connection with them, but then going a step further, saying, hey, I got this product. This is what we do with, preparing meals and nutrition values, making sure we're, putting a good quality product in there, and, counting the macros, doing all those things that people really want to see in a product. And then ultimately it's going to benefit them and help them out, whether they're training or not training, having a healthy meal that they can rely on, that's quick, that's easy, that's convenient, that's, tastes good, is super important. That's where we've set that standard, and we don't really slack on that, at all. And so, over the course of the last 3 or so years, that's where we've been. And, going through the tough struggles of now going from all I knew was restaurants and, brick and mortar and hotel work and stuff like that. But I've done everything from, catering to large catering events for several thousands of people to, small intimate dinners of, 10 people where it's, 9 courses and whatnot. So, I had the cooking down, but then it's, once we get into an e-commerce business, having no clue of what was going on, what to expect, how things work. Ended up building my own website on I forget what the website platform was, but it was just something free. I needed something simple that people could just order on type deal. And then kind of learning from there and, kind of going through the course of, don't know what I'm doing to we're just going to figure it out, as long as we keep pushing forward, keep, testing and retesting and seeing what's happening and just figuring it out. And that's kind of, we still do it to the day. And I'm sure, Justin, you can elaborate on that too, but I think that's part of the joy and the life that brings, what we're doing is, we're constantly learning, we're constantly upgrading, whether it's, interpersonal in our team to leadership to e-commerce. Again, I had no idea e-commerce and how to run it, but now that we've gone through 4 websites, from everything from stuff that's crashing because it's getting too much traffic and, learning the SEO optimizations and, marketing and sales and how to run data and all that stuff. And so it's been just a wild ride. And it's not over obviously, but it's something that I'm super excited about. I'm passionate about, and it's opened the light of what FitTrax can do and what we're capable of doing and the amount of people that we're able to cook for and reach, let alone, so it's not, we do home deliveries. We also do pickups, but the biggest thing that we're able to do is we're able to ship nationwide. And so having that reach of being able to get meals wherever you are in the, the United States is something that's pretty amazing to do with a fresh product like what we're doing. And so those capabilities are huge, I feel right now. And it's pretty cool to see, we're helping people out in New York City that are, we're in Seattle, but, all the way to Austin, Texas to Arizona. And it's wow, we're cooking for these people all across the nation, and it's pretty awesome. So that was kind of my short but little longer version of where FitTrax started and kind of where we're at right now. So
that's awesome. Congratulations on all your success. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Well, one of the things I like, Mark, and I just want to emphasize it with the audience because I'm working on a limited series called the 18 Pillars of Leadership, and they're all E-related. But the first 3 things of being a leader is exposure, education, and experience. And you sort of walked yourself through it very unintentionally, but you talked about you went out and you got the experience. And then as you got promoted, you listened to the people around you, and you had someone that say, if you do your work, I will educate you with everything I know. That's unbelievable amount of coaching, and that's education. And then there was the exposure part, which is you went around the world and exposed yourself to cuisine around the world, other cultures, other people, other way things happen. And so you expanded your mind. And so I just want to talk about those 3 things. And obviously I'm making a plug for when we do that limited series called the Pillars of Leadership. But I just think that it's so essential, whether you're going to be an entrepreneur or you're going to be a leader in any way, that you look at those things. I happened to trip over them. You tripped over them. We didn't really know what we were doing. We just knew the direction we had to go. I think as leaders and entrepreneurs, we just do that. But I think if we can say those things, that those are the three main things, it's important, because as we showed that Mark just talked, I'm not the only one who sees it. It's just, and Mark doesn't even know about these, because I haven't even really released them anywhere unless he reads my Instagram. But even that, it's kind of broken out and I don't really define it properly. So that's one. I think that's hugely important for the audience to pick up on. The other thing that Mark sort of touched on, and we talk about it in Arete, and both of us have coaches in Ed Millett and Andy Frisella through Arete, but is that the values that he has and that his business is based on. And he talked about it before this question, but he sort of loosely got into them as he was talking about what is he going to stand for and what does that health look like. So Mark, I have another question for you, and sorry if I'm jumping on your questions, Elena, but how have you used core values? We talk about them on the Leadership Battalion podcast. FSP has always been into core values. And since I've done Arete, I've really taken them and exploded them to like 16.0, because we just skipped over the other .0s in the process. Even in this, we make the leadership podcast about what are those moral and ethics look like, which ultimately we define as core values. So, that's a question for you right there.
Yeah, it's a good question. It's been so I kind of to rewind a little bit. I grew up in our family was pretty heavy in Boy Scouts and scouting back in the day, and so I'm an Eagle Scout as well. So I've kind of always lived by the core values of kind of what scouting had taught me, and my parents as well. So just always treat others as you want to be treated and those kind of things. And so, and I think that's something that, I learned at such a young age, but just being around it and being in that family dynamic and then scouting and in putting that into my work ethics and stuff like that, it really, over the years, and especially the last couple of years for sure, as being a leader, and it's really kind of come to light and shown that, like the importance of living that, but leading by example, and always doing the right thing no matter what, even if it sucks and you're like, man, this sucks having to do it, but it's the right thing to do. And showing others that that is the way to go, no matter what. And whether it's a customer service something, or dealing with employees or vendors or whatever, it's the right thing to do. So it's been, how do we do it in FitTrax? It's tough. It's always an ongoing like training and education for everybody. And so it's just making sure that the team knows, like, this is our standard. This is what we do. And we don't let it slip. And so, and it's, we're all holding each other accountable. Even myself, I tell my team, hey, if I slack on something, or you see me, accidentally drop something and I forget to pick it up, or I didn't see I dropped it, like, let me know, or like pick it up and then just, tell me, be like, hey, Mark, I noticed you dropped this, or you missed this, or whatever. And so I try to let the team know, like, hey, I'm here. I'm one of you guys as well. And just, we're here for the same reasons. We're here for the same goals and the visions. And, lately I've been in the kitchen in the warehouse a lot more than I used to be. And so it's kind of putting, letting the guys and the gals see, like, me work and me be in there and showing them, like, hey, this is how we do it. This is the standard. And, so it's good for them to see that as well, as not just me talking and preaching it all the time, but, we live by it. And so I think leading by example is the best way to do it. And quite frankly, the only way to do it too. I think, that's a quote by Vince Lombardi, if I'm not mistaken. So that's something that we always do. And we have, like Andy and Ed Millett talk about in Arete, is, making sure that the core values and people know them, and I written them up and put them on. I had a guy come and create decals, and we put them up in our kitchen, and so people can see it visually and point at it, so it's there. It's that constant reminder that people see it, as they come in, as they, walk up on a staircase, they're there. So people can always see those things and the visual reminders, and, if we need to point at it type thing. And so those things I think have the little things kind of add up and help out. So.
Yeah. And I agree with you, Mark. And visualizing them, displaying them, what we don't realize is we're really creating vision boards for our employees. If they see it every day, even if they're not directly reading it, it's a reminder. And it's like no different than putting a vision board in front of us daily if we're an entrepreneur or a leader and what we want our personal goals to be. So the things we do in our facilities and in our culture as leaders, they have direct influence on what happens there for moving forward. And all of it may be subconscious, but day after day after day after day, those core values or those lessons or whatever, they start to bleed in, and become part of life. And sometimes it takes way longer, and sometimes you have different backgrounds you have to deal with and different education levels or skill levels based on what part of the world you're in. So there's no other, like, to me, once I understood the piece fully, like I said, we've always lived by them, but once I've been able to unlock them in terms of the human potential piece, it's been hard. Like we've gone through a bump in the road. Once we unlocked core values and we started really living by the big ones, not just making sure we never missed a delivery or always agreeing, the real basic ones that everyone did. Once we went to a higher level of core values, a real higher level, like we're talking about, like always doing the right thing no matter what, and really using those, and seeing that conversion, and seeing it click in the employees finally over the last month or two here in Georgia. It takes a long time. But it's been pretty amazing. And so I'm right almost on target, about 18 months that I say it takes to change a habit for yourself or for anyone else. We're almost right on it. But we are seeing the core value change and the value change in those that come into the organization and maybe have shaky values from their background to begin with. Because I feel that that's part of I'm an entrepreneur and I'm a leader, like I should be growing the humans 100% along the way. Like their potential, their maturity, like doesn't matter if they stop being educated at 18 or 22 or whatever age that it stopped. We have a job as employers and businessmen and women and entrepreneurs and leaders to make sure that education happens for life, or at least there's the opportunity for it. And that's how we grow in our business, and that's how we remain competitive. So I see people display them. We have them displayed, but I never thought about like the full blown decals across the walls and stuff. It looks like Elena and her marketing team that she's a member of have some homework ahead of them. So.
Yeah. Now that you're talking about it, I'm like, man, I only have it in like a couple places. I want it all over the place, like I want to put this on every wall, every hallway, the staircase, in the office, like just so it's wherever people are walking, like they see it, be respectful, all those things. And just, that constant reminder. And I think it's something, at least something that I've noticed in the industry is like, it's a very competitive industry for businesses, but also the individual. And so, bringing people in from whatever their background may be, whether it was, growing up in a low income housing or whatever, and not being around that sort of dynamic of, I grew up with team sports and, we're a team, we do this as a team, even as a wrestler, I wrestled, like it was an individual sport, but it was a team effort. We all worked together, we trained together, everything. And so, over the course of, being an entrepreneur and getting, different employees and talking to them and interviewing them, like learning, like people are not me. Right. And, you have to learn how do they learn and, what is their style, but also they need to match our standards. And, our standards are high, and you need to, in a sense, like you earn your keep, and you put the work forth, and you show that you want, the effort and the hard work, and you're going to grow within the company. And I tell all my guys, like, I'm happy to share everything I know, my knowledge, and because that's where my mentors as, chefs did for me. And so it's me giving back as well. Like, I'm here to do it, but we need to see the working with intent and doing the right thing and showing that you work by the core values, and this is something that you want as well. So that's been a learning curve on my part for sure, is learning those different personalities, the dynamics of people, and how to navigate that and really make it successful for everybody. So
and I agree. And I'm going to just, because I dealt with it today, and probably the employees are going to come to me and be like, whatever, team members, sorry, we don't call them employees. The team members are going to come to me and say that I said this, but we literally just had this discussion today, and it's an interesting one. Everyone's like, oh my God, we're so short staffed, COVID, we need more cooks. Let's just hire cooks. And I'm like, so we're just going to hire them as cooks. They're like, yep, let's hire them as cook. I'm like, but they then don't start off at the fundamental level, the probationary level. I don't care whether they're a cook or not. If they're going to work for this company, they need to understand the business, and they need to start as a packer. They need to understand the business. Then they need to understand the storeroom. They need to understand where everything is that they cook, where it goes when it's done, where it comes from, how it goes in the building. Then they can cook, because they're the most important person in the building. And if they only know the cook in this 123,000 square foot building, I'm in trouble. They're not able to do anything other than their little medial task. If I want to cook, I want a cook that knows the building, that's able to run the building as a cook. So it's interesting. Okay, let's just circumvent it. But all of a sudden, I'm almost shaking how scared I am that this is coming out of people's mouth. It's not that they're wrong. They just don't know, and they haven't experienced it like I have. You skip it. You skip the uncomfortability of people's ability to learn the core values and the basics of your business. You're in trouble in the long run. They're going to argue with you because of a lack of knowledge. You're going to run into bumps, and no one else in the organization who's earned their stripes is going to respect them. I don't care what their education level is. Mm-hmm. Again, experience. It's one of those three main E's. Like, you can't get respect from people without the experience. And me, it's just, you're like, oh, that's so unfair, and you don't respect their skill or their talent or all the work they put in. You're right. I don't respect it because I've never seen it. Go earn it, period. And if any company doesn't expect you to do that, they're not investing in you in the long run, and they are not truly believing in you as a human, because you need to know the basics if you're ever going to survive in that company, period. And it's not just in manufacturing. Like, you need to be able to learn all the pieces of the job to excel in your job, no matter what it is, big or small your company is. And when I was in graduate school, and we would go live all over the world and do our thing and have internships or work study experiences, the main thing about it was before we even stepped foot in it, we had to go learn all the pieces of that company, regardless if I was in a sustainability job or whatever. And I was still trying to do food service partners on top of this. But it was about that, learning the company first. I can't make a recommendation, or I can't do something if I don't understand the whole picture. I can't lead. I want leaders in my company, and they can't lead unless they have their rotations and understand the whole company and lead from knowledge. I'm not saying me or get my experience. I'm just saying have enough of knowledge of know what your decisions impact in people's life on an immediate basis. And so, sorry to say it, but to Mark's point, there is a respect that's given, and we need to give people the dignity to go get the respect, whether they like it or not. If I brought a superstar on my team and I put him in the starting lineup without having ever had practice, the whole team is going to rebel, period.
Yeah, I would agree with that for sure. And when I look for people, like, I could care less what their cooking experience is, or if they've ever worked in a kitchen or any food service establishment. What I want are good people. Are you going to do the right thing when it comes down to it? Are you going to treat others with respect? I can teach you everything else, whether you're a cook or, you need to learn how to do packing. Like, I mean, shit, I'm in there, I'm packing, after this, I'm headed right to the warehouse to go put together all of our orders, like with the guys, like, cause that's what's needed. And that's what we got to do. But, when I get guys in there who I've had guys in the past be like, hey, I just want to cook, man. Like, I don't want to, I just don't want to do much more than that. And I'm like, well, that's not what we're looking for. Your resume is awesome. You've worked at some pretty substantial establishments, and I think this is awesome. I would love to cook with you, to do things, to have you a part. But I'm gonna, there is a probationary period, and you're gonna be, we wear many hats. We all wear many hats, and at FitTrax, and that's something that I make very clear in the beginning, that hey, if we need, yes, you're hired on as a cook, but if we need help packing orders, I'm gonna pull you to help pack orders, and we're gonna train you how to do that. And hey, if the dishes get piled up and the dishwasher's backed up, we're gonna go wash dishes. And I wash dishes just as much as everybody else, because that's it's what's needed, and it's the team dynamic of we're here to help each other out. And the same thing, like I got guys who my dishwasher will run. He'll notice that people in the warehouse are they got a lot of orders, and he's like, hey, you guys want some help? Can I help you out for, even if it's 30 minutes or something? Just like, hey, I'm good on the dish pit. These guys are slacking over here. Let me go run and help them out. Or hey, can I peel some potatoes for you guys, or get something to help the cooks out? So that's what I look for, is, are people willing to go the extra mile? When even if they are busy, they're helping other people out. And so other than that, like I'm going to train them, and I'm going to help them out, but they need to be able to recognize where people, whether it's a team needs help here or there. And that's it's important that people, I think, know that, and to go on top of what you were saying, Justin. So,
and it's a weird thing, and I'm going to say it because I've had people question it. And like I've said, I've started a lot of businesses in food, and we've had subsidiaries, we've sold off subsidiaries, we've closed subsidiaries in times. So I understand expanding and shrinking, but over Food Service Partners history, we've opened the Union City kitchen right now is our 9th facility we've been a part of owning, whether it's for ourselves or we're brought into a consultant to manage and turn back over, whatever it's been. But every single time I've never, and they're like, oh, well, in a corporation, and I get it, corporate mindset is just stamp these things out as fast as possible and get to profitability. I get it. But as an entrepreneur that wants the business to be around a long time, and seeing the mistakes of corporations or entrepreneurs that we now can look back on, to me, it's about, I go and I'm involved. I have to spread the culture. I have to be part of, they need to see that I'm willing to go in there and pack bags. Like the other day, like, no kidding, guys, I'm freaking 42 years old. I've been doing this now for almost 25 years. I was literally covered in head to toe in cow blood. After the decanting meat had been done, we decided to work weekends. We were short-staffed. I'm coming in. We're always short-staffed. Deborah and I are here. Our teams are here. Our managers are here, all back on the floor, because that's what we learned to do. You go on the floor, and everyone's learned to do it. But I was covered in blood, like the smell of it, the dealing with it, the thousands of pounds of it for beef stew, getting it in, getting it braised in the rationales to get in the kettle, but it had to be done. If I don't do it, the food doesn't go out. People in long-term care homes up in Pennsylvania don't get their food, and they could be compromised and die because they don't have food. I'd never want that. And so it just means getting it done. But that's, to Mark's point, every successful entrepreneur I know now that knows the same thing, that are 7 million figure winners at least, or building successful companies that are growing like Mark, they know one thing. And that thing is that it's not about what's on the resume. I don't even look at resumes. Believe me, my sister is the executive director of human resources. She passes the resumes on, and she's going to kill me. It's important what she does. It's important that we filter it. We get people, we go through, we have the phone calls. But by the time it gets to me, if they're here for an interview, I'm not looking at the resume either way, because I'm gauging how teachable this person is and how much potential they have, and how easy is it going to be for me to uncap and unlock that potential. Period. I don't care whether they're a cook and they only want to be a cook. You can be a freaking phenomenal cook and employee. You could be number one. We have an employee that we started in New York now 20 years ago, almost 19 years ago. He came in, he worked from Packer, got in, he became a cook, decided he wanted to be a driver. He's now the driver. All these years later, he was the number one employee in the driver. He kept working. He kept progressing year after year. He kept learning more. He kept doing better with our deliveries at night. Now he's the number one driver in all of the New York City employees that are involved in the New York City employees, because we get counted even as a vendor for servicing all the New York City hospitals. Imagine that. How many thousands, if not tens of thousands, if maybe even over 1 million, including garbage truck drivers, mailmen, whatever service New York City has, black car drivers, how he got the driver of the year. That is not a small task, and he didn't do it overnight. But it was exactly the person we recruited 19 years ago. Just saying. Never missed a delivery in New York, ever, even when the hurricane hit New York City. And I love this because up and down, I deal with this out in California all the time. We have never missed a delivery, not during an earthquake, not during a disaster, not during when the World Series had the stuff go off in the 90s, when we had all that go on and there was an earthquake. Never missed a delivery. Even in New York City, when it was underwater, we got the food to all the hospitals, whether we negotiated boats or contracts or whatever we had to do on Roosevelt Island, which was underwater completely. So if you don't recruit those people, your business can't be that business. I mean, that's just what I know. I mean, I'm straight up going to tell you it's logical, but yet we hire mediocrity all the time. And so I like to win. You guys can probably tell I do not like losing way more than I don't like losing way more than I like winning. I like winning and I like being the champion, but I hate losing. Like, I don't like the feeling. It is an awful feeling. It's great to learn from and to grow from, and it's important not to beat yourself up or have self-pity. But to Mark's point, you need people that have the personality, that can be teachable, that are willing to keep failing in order to win. Because we didn't get to a point where we've never missed a delivery in 25 years for our hospitals by not hiring these people. You know, is it suffering in the world of retail? Yes. In retail right now, trying to hit deliveries are hard. But with the hospitals, with a compromised population, we are hitting all of our numbers, because that is a priority. Everyone else, you're still a priority, but weird onions and potatoes that I never thought I could get, that are weird specialty items now, we can substitute out of the hospitals. But in retail, you can't suddenly substitute something out without creating a whole new retail pack. That's the major difference. And so,
yeah.
So sorry, I went on a tangent there, but I think Mark, I'll fire it up there. The other thing, Mark, while I have you, and Elena, I want her to ask questions too, was I know that you do 75 hard too, and mental fitness, and as leadership and someone who's on my third year of doing it. And I know the importance of it. Could you just talk about that a little bit and the lessons that it's taught you from a leadership standpoint?
Oh man. 75 hard was I've done it, and I've failed a couple times, and I've succeeded. So it's as a leadership standpoint, I think it's shown me so many things, but it's hard to kind of pinpoint down. But what I'm truly capable of doing as a person, but also as a leader, in the sense of the importance of communication and showing people like how to do things, how to operate, how to help people out, how to, and just going back to communication, like I'm maybe one of the biggest advocates of communicating, it's so important. And if we, and I just had a meeting with, the kitchen guys yesterday about it. I was like, hey, this is so important. And I understand, like, coming from kitchens, like it was do your thing, that's it, kind of like, and that, once your list is done type thing, like you're done. But we operate in such a different dynamic that, 75 Hard taught me that, expressing these to the guys and the gals on the team that, our big vision, the mission that we're on is going to require us to all communicate, and whether we like it or not, and nothing's personal. Like, we have to be able to be honest with ourselves and honest with other people. No matter the situation, no matter what it is, if it's going to suck, if it's going to, make you look bad, it's not, because that's something that's just in your head. And it doesn't, kind of the thing of like, who cares what other people think, whether you're posting on social media or, you're trying to explain how something works, like, it's something, it's still something that I struggle and I work with daily, but, it's the reps, it's doing the repetition, keep going. Like, that grit of, I'm never going to give up, I'm going to overwork anybody else. I'm going to work harder, work smarter, and work fast, at what we're doing. And so, that's, those are things that 75 Hard taught me, as a person and a leader, and just like the importance of sharing with everybody, anybody I come in contact with, my standards, my values, my, what's important to me. And so I think that's important as a leader to, again, lead by example, let people know, like, hey, I'm going to let you know what's on my mind and what needs to get done. And it's not personal. It's nothing against you. This is what has to happen. And this is what we do. Like, simple things of, making, like a bean puree, like refried beans that we do. It's our take on a healthier refried beans. Like, there was whole cloves of garlic in this thing. And I was like, hey, we gotta make sure that this is clumped up, because if someone goes in to bite into that one piece, they're going to get a mouthful of garlic and they're not going to get the full experience of what, our food is like. They're going to be like, holy cow, that was super garlicky. Even though it's cooked, it's got a heavy garlic taste to it. So it's, make sure that those standards are in place. And, hey, yeah, we're supposed to be plating up all these meals with this certain product into it, but I stopped it because that's the standard and that's not what we do. And so I had to communicate with the guys, hey, and when I say guys, that's, our cook team, but, hey, it's important that we follow the recipes, and that, and this is why, showing them the why, I've always felt is important. And when you're leading and teaching others is, yeah, I can show you how to do something, but if you don't know the why, then people won't always see the full circle of things. So, why do we write a little thank you note on our packaging slips? Well, because when the customer opens that box and they're going to see these amazing meals, the first thing they're going to see is, their packaging slip, and with a little note on it saying, hey, Justin, thank you for supporting FitTrax. We're super excited to cook for you. Please let us know if there's anything we can do to help. Something like that. And that's that feeling that you get when you read that. And it's a handwritten note too. It's not something we type out and we just slap on everything, that, again, that comes from Andy teaching us, in Arte, those values of doing something, those small things that matter. And I think that's important. That also allows us to set ourselves apart from others, and that we care, we actually care, and customer service is important to us. And so, that's, and our customers are 100%. So everything we do is for the customers, for, making sure we do what we say we're going to do and do it right. And so those are all, I know I kind of went off a little bit on the 75 hard, but those are all things that 75 hard has really taught me as a leader. And it's just the importance of everything that, and people are always watching you no matter what. Like, so you think you need to be people over here need to be on their best P's and Q's. Well, we as leaders and the entrepreneurs always need to be on our P's and Q's, and always need to be, setting the standard, and always showing people that, what we're doing is, what we feel is the right thing, and leading by example. So, that was hope that answered the 75 hard question, but I loved it. I truly, I loved what it did and what it brought to life in my eyes. And, pushing yourself through the critical limits of what you can really do, physically and mentally, is what really brought to light in my eyes. So, it was awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. Elena, I'm going to turn it over to you. Questions and.
Yeah, definitely. So I loved hearing about the 75 hard. I've actually never done the full 75 hard. And especially now that I'm pregnant, probably not the best time to start that, but it's so inspiring when I see people complete it. And I have friends that have completed it, and I have friends that have done what they call the 75 soft, and it's a little different than the 75 hard, and they kind of modify a few things. But I think, with my experience of committing to different diets, workout plans, routines, whatever it might be, the 75 hard sounds like something that can really be life-changing, and really great structure. So I loved hearing about that. But just before we wrap up today, I wanted to give another question out to both of you guys of, what advice would you give to someone aspiring to excel in this industry, in the food industry, whatever industry you would consider, the widest industry that you're a part of? If you could just give some advice to those people that may be listening, what would you say to them?
Man, I would say it's a good question.
I can go first if you want,
okay.
Mark.
Yeah, please. I'm like trying to.
I mean, it goes back to what Mark and I were saying. I think you have to go start at the bottom in food. I didn't like it. I certainly didn't want to go count carts and learn inventory because I didn't come from a chef background, and I did work in restaurants and stuff, but I came from the waiter side, and I did work in food, but it was in farming. And like I said, the waiter side, I never worked back in the kitchen. So I had to learn all of that, especially as we launched New York in 2005, even though the business was by then 2004 or 5, even though the business was almost 7 years old by then, we were expanding to such a large client and such high volumes in New York that I had to go back in and learn the business, even in the business I had started. Like, it's never over. And if you can't gain that habit as an entrepreneur or a leader of being able to learn things, you're never going to learn. I literally, even yesterday, I'm out on the floor with the employees because we're moving equipment around, and like, guys, I'm shuffling all the time. Like, I'm having to move, locations around and close the locations and consolidate and deal with the labor problem just as anyone else. But it's all with intent to service the clients and stuff like that. And I'm trying to grow the company at the same time. It's very weird what's going on right now. And if anyone saw behind the scenes what's going on in food, in the food industry, you would understand why we need to create our own supply chain in the United States with our own higher quality meats and produce and fruits. It has to be higher quality. We're the only country that can really do it on such a massive scale, that has the ability to understand why it's necessary from a consumer standpoint, because the consumers have to drive it. So what am I going to say to any future entrepreneur? You just need to get into that, and you need to go learn it. And it's not just grabbing your grandma's recipe and making it into a business. I think there's a lot of people that do it and sell it off and are successful. I just don't see that as being an entrepreneur. And I know people use the term. To me, it's you're adding value constantly, you're creating jobs constantly, and it's for a long-term legacy for your business to do that. If your goal is to sell the business, I get it. You started something and you sold it off. Just the term entrepreneur is less meaningful to me in that sense. I don't know what the word would be. You created something, you drove it, but an entrepreneur to me is someone who's dedicated to something over the long run. That's dedicated to the humans over the long run. So if that by definition is who you want to be, and you didn't start where Mark started in his family, or had the hard knocks, or grew up on a farm like I did with the family values, you have to go in and do it. And even if you did go those values, a lot of times you need to go back to the beginning and back to the basics, and for lack of a better term, have the shit kicked out of you a little bit. And
which I'm sure we both have plenty of stories on getting our shit kicked, so, yeah. But no, I think that's just to kind of feed off of what Justin was saying, like, and I tell people this too, is like, hey, don't be afraid to get your hands dirty. Like, you have to get in there. You have to get in and, learn. You don't need to know everything, but you better damn well be sure you know a little bit of each piece of your business, and so that way you can, if something we're busy over here, we need help over here, you can step in and you can get in with the team guys and gals, like, and you can get in there, you can work with them, and you can, help them out and not just be, a mindless body, so I think, and again, leading by example, like, don't ever let that slack, don't ever, let that fault, in the sense that, you want to just make sure that, like I said before, like, you're always being watched. So make sure you're doing the right thing. You're leading by example and showing others that you care and that you're there to help them. And what, you're doing is for the customer, is for the team, the best. And that, set your standards high and the vision even bigger, and chase it and don't give up, because, Justin, you're right in the sense, people come up with a product, they make their money and then they're out. I'd agree that's not an entrepreneurial mindset. One of our pieces to our mission is to make sure that we're creating a safe and stable job within the hospitality industry, and make sure that people are, secure in their jobs and in what they're doing, and the quality of life. And so that's something that, growing up in the industry, I never really had. I grew up, there's maybe a couple years that I had past the age of 25 that I had health insurance. So I didn't have it because I couldn't afford it. And so knowing that in the industry, it's not a get rich quick deal. It's a lot of hard work, and, I want to make sure that I provide those are things that are important to me in our mission of a stable job environment, that, we offer several different benefits as well, not just medical and dental, all those things, but, education, that's important to me, that we offer the ongoing education that people can learn and grow. And so that's where, if you can allow people to grow within your organization, that's going to provide value above and beyond, and people are going to see that. And so I think those are key points to anybody who's kind of aspiring to get into the industry and do it, and just know that it's going to take a lot of work, a lot of hard work, long hours, days, nights, weekends, even on the days that you don't want to do it. You don't want to get up and get out of bed. There's days for me, and Justin, I'm sure you can agree with that. There's days where I wake up and I don't want to get up out of bed. I don't want to, get to work, but you know what? I have to, and I do it every day. And so, those are important key parts to becoming successful. And I think just knowing that it's one step in front of the other, day by day, and just find the good out of each day and keep progressing. So
well, and here's why this is important, and I'm going to say it for 3 reasons just that I have here and what you said. One is that if I don't know, I need to be able to do it myself, and I need to be able to know what it's like, and I need to be able to have the mental toughness to get through things, right? And I'm going to give an example, okay? We have businesses and kitchens all over the country. Late 2000s, sleeping in bed, I get a phone call at 1 o'clock in the morning. We have unions in California. They're striking, the drivers. So we've never missed a delivery. All the unions are striking. They finished the deliveries that night. Next day, they're going on at least a 13-day strike. Why 13? I don't remember at the time, but it had some sort of significance. It ended up lasting longer than that. But myself, the managers that worked for me, managers in the other kitchens and supervisors, all were on planes. Other kitchens adjusted, figured out how to cover for everyone, and we came together as a group and delivered it as a team. The managers, the corporate team, the people that you think are pencil pushers and behind a desk. Why? No matter what jobs they've had in the company, they've always been involved in the food when push came to shove. They've always had to have that training. 2 is, as a company, I've got to tell you, we've had hospital systems, long-term cares go away here and there, cancel the contract, new person comes in, they think they know better, they have more experience, but they forget what it means to be in business for a long time. And this is important because when you're in business as long as we are and you've stuck to the core values as long as we have, no one can compete with you that's a corporation. And if you're a corporation and you haven't built them in, it's pretty hard to go back and do it. And if you don't give your people the ability to earn their way up in an organization and have that base knowledge, if you're a manufacturer or a company, they really don't have the credibility for anyone to believe them. And when people talk to them, only the really gullible will buy something from them or believe them. And that's not the people you want working for your company anyway. But it is what goes on across the board. So what am I saying? Every time, whether it's 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, whether it's a retail client, whether they grow, whether they come back, whether they get pissed and leave because we don't handle them the right way, because we're honest in our business and we have realistic conversations about how we can help them grow, or a hospital system, they think they can do it better, or because COVID right now, we're not doing it the right way, or whatever reason they would have to leave, they always come back. And it's not because the food quality. Yes, we have high quality food. It's not because we're fast at it. Yes, we're fast. It's not because we learn slow or fast. Everyone always in the food business wants you to go faster, no matter how fast you are. So it's a freaking thing you just have to deal with. But the thing that matters is at the end of the day that brings them back every time is somewhere over the years they hit a major crisis. Whether it's prices, whether it's shortages, whether it's a strike, whatever it is, and there is no longer food service partners because they miss the real value in a relationship, in a business, in the employees that a business hires. And that's that loyalty, and that's that willingness to go the extra mile for the business, for the owners, for the entrepreneurs, for the clients, whatever it is, it's all tied up in a nice bow if you build it properly. And so if you don't know how to do that and you don't have all the experience to do it, you don't have the credibility to lead people to go do the same job that you want them to go step in for in an emergency. Mm-hmm. And so as we take it full circle, how, why, I didn't always understand why I was learning everything or what I was doing, but I still do it today. I learned ramen, bone broth at a freaking crazy rate over the last few years. But now that it's actually really in the kitchen and we're mass producing bone broths and ramen and very complex, authentic Japanese things, I never thought in a million years we were doing it. But why us? We're the best at quality. We're the best at efficiency. And we're the best at what the third thing should be in a business, which is the core values, which is growing the humans and the communities they live in because of it. And so, you know, that's my thing. If you want my opinion, and giving away the farm, which I just did.
No, those are, yeah. And that was just, as you were telling that, Justin, that made me kind of remember, you know, we have a similar client where, man, back in the day, I can't remember how many times we messed up with their food order, whether it was gave them the wrong meals or something was off on the packaging or something, or it was a late delivery. You know, it was expected to get there on Tuesday, but it didn't come till Wednesday or something, or maybe even a Thursday due to, you know, shipping issues. But we always got them their food, and we always did the right thing of, you know, hey, a shipment came late and it was it was supposed to be temperature controlled, you know, with our ice packs and everything, and the shipping, you know, box that we do, you know, we have a certain window of where those last, right? And so maybe it exceeded that limit and it got to the person and there were, you know, unsafe temperature. Well, you know, what do? We refund it. We get them their meals back, whatever we can do to get to them. And man, we messed up several times, and each time I just see the email come through with our customer service team, and I'm just like, oh shit, not again. Like, what do we do? How does one person keep getting this mistake happening, or what are we doing? And, you know, it's the simple things that, you know, we messed up here or there, the little things we make a mistake on, but we always did the right thing. And, you know, I spoke to him, the customer, several times on the phone, and, you know, the things that constantly came up was, he was like, I get it, man. Like, it's a small, you guys are a small business. Your product is great. I love the product, but what really stands out is the fact that you guys are always willing to go the extra mile and make sure that, you know, you're doing the right thing, and that, you know, whether it's a simple, you know, getting us the meals. Like, I mean, I've driven him meals, and he lives, I mean, it's at least an hour and a half, 2 hours from where our facility is. And I've literally gotten my car and I've driven to his house and delivered the meals to him, because I'm just like, man, and given extra, you know, like above and beyond. And so that's the importance. And you know, and he still orders to this day. He's, you know, he's ordering constantly, and it's, you know, he understands that, and just the importance of customer service and, you know, communicating with them. Hey, we understand that there was a shipping issue, and they understand that. And just, it's important that, you know, when you're communicating to the customer, that it's to be the honest, to be, you know, hey, and own it. Like, we messed up, we made a mistake, you know, or we packed it late or something, like, but we're doing the right thing to get it to you, and as much as we can. And so I think those are great points. And that just kind of came into my mind when you were talking about that, Justin. So I'm just you know, the value that we provide, the value that the customers provide in return of, you know, spreading the word. You know, this customer's told several people, like, I love FitTrax. I love what they do. I love what they stand for. I love their meals. They're, you know, it's helping me. You know, he's a business owner himself, so he gets it. And so, but talking to him and you know, understanding where he's coming from, and then, you know, that loyal to the lifelong value of that one person is supersedes anything else, because, you know, the loyalty that we've created and with him alone, and, you know, is a huge value. And you know, he's spreading the word without us even saying, like, hey, do you mind sharing this or whatever? Like, we don't do that. We don't ask for that. You know, but people are doing it because they want to, and they want to share what we're doing, and they want to see everybody as well be successful. And I think that goes back into what entrepreneurship it really is we're all here to help each other. We're all here to be successful and make others successful in return. And so those are all important values in what we do and why we do it, you know. So
I agree 100%. And often we've always talked about, at least from day one, at least my father always told me, is the biggest complainers are actually God, are God speaking through the angels that need to make your business better. And it's a perception thing. It's not necessarily exactly true, but it is true in sense that it's being done for you. It's being done for your business. It's being done for the people in the business so they can continue to grow. And so I think it's just, if we look at it that way, it makes things a lot easier. It makes things a lot easier if we look at it as it's another, or as we say here at Food Service Partners, AFCO, it's another fucking growing opportunity. You know, every mistake is like, God, you know, someone be like, whatever, oh, another fucking growing opportunity. And that's what it is. Like, let's just grow from it. You know, it can be frustrating. Let's get it out. But even in the frustration of letting it out, we're twisting it to a positivity. You know, so it's culture like that. That's not even a core value. That's just happens to be experience and tribal, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, I agree. I'm stealing that AFCO, by the way.
Yeah, me too. Every day. So, all right, Elena, you want to take us home?
Yes, I think everything you guys shared was just amazing and going to be so helpful for any aspiring leader in this industry specifically. And we're just so grateful that you guys both shared. And Mark, we will link all of your social media and website information in the comments below, but do you want to quickly let people know where they can find you and connect with you?
They can find us on Instagram is where we kind of do a lot, and that's FitTrax Meals. You can find us online at fittraxmeals.com. That's our website. So you can see all our information on there. Reach out to us at any time. Like I said, we're huge on customer service and, you know, doing what we do. So we're happy to answer anybody's questions and help them out as much as possible. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you, Justin, as always. And we will be back with you guys next time. Have a great day.
Awesome.